Once upon a time in a faraway land, there was a girl who lived in a desert oasis with her family. The oasis was surrounded by tall walls to keep out wild animals and intruders, and inside the walls was a beautiful garden full of flowers, trees, and a sparkling pool of water. But for Noor, the most special thing in the garden was her pet cat. Noor was a very quiet girl. She liked to sit in the garden and listen to the birds singing or the wind rustling through the leaves. But her favorite thing to do was to listen to her cat, who was a beautiful calico cat with white paws and a pink nose. The cat would meow and purr and tell Noor all sorts of things. But the most amazing thing about the cat was that she only spoke in riddles. And those riddles were always whispered to her by the moon when it shone in her sleep. One night, the moon whispered a riddle to the cat. "I have cities, but no houses. I have mountains, but no trees. I have water, but no fish. What am I?" The cat woke up and meowed. "You are a map." Noor, who was sleeping in her room nearby, heard the riddle and understood what the moon had said. She got up and went to the window. She looked at the moon and smiled. She knew that the moon was wise and mysterious, and that its riddles were full of meaning. She also knew that her cat was special, and that she could understand the moon's riddles because of her. Noor loved spending time with her cat and listening to her stories. They would sit together for hours, and Noor would feel like she was part of something bigger than herself. She felt like she was connected to the moon and her cat by their shared love of riddles and mysteries. But one night, the cat woke up from a deep sleep and found that she couldn't meow. She tried to call out to Noor, but no sound came out of her throat. She ran to Noor's house and meowed frantically, but Noor couldn't understand what she was trying to say. The cat was scared and confused, and she didn't know what to do. Meanwhile, Noor was fast asleep in her bed. She had no idea that her cat was in trouble. Suddenly, Noor heard a loud crash outside her window. She got out of bed and went to investigate. To her surprise, she saw her cat sitting on the windowsill, looking scared and confused. Noor asked her cat what was wrong, but the cat just shook her head and walked away. Noor was worried about her cat, so she followed her into the garden. The cat led Noor to her favorite spot under the almond tree and meowed sadly. Noor sat down next to her cat and tried to comfort her, but she had no idea what was wrong. Just then, the moon rose in the sky and shone its light on the garden. Noor looked up at the moon and wondered if it knew what was happening to her cat. As if the moon had heard her thoughts, it whispered a riddle. "I have wings, but cannot fly. I have eyes, but cannot see. I have a beak, but cannot speak. What am I?" Noor thought hard, trying to figure out the answer to the riddle. She looked around the garden, but everything seemed normal. Then she noticed a pair of glowing eyes staring at them from a tree branch. Noor gasped in surprise as a large owl hooted loudly and flew away. Noor realized that the owl must have stolen her cat's voice. She knew that owls were known for their ability to steal the voices of other animals, and she suspected that the owl had done this to her cat because it was jealous of her special connection to the moon. Determined to get her cat's voice back, Noor went in search of the owl. She looked everywhere, but the owl was nowhere to be found. Just when she was about to give up hope, she saw a faint glow in the distance. She walked towards the glow and found a small hut hidden behind some bushes. Noor knocked on the door, and a raspy voice asked, "Who's there?" "It's me," Noor replied. "I'm here to get my cat's voice back." The voice inside the hut chuckled and said, "Oh, so you know that I have your cat's voice?" "Yes," Noor said, "and I want it back." The voice said, "If you want your cat's voice back, you'll have to solve my riddle. I have keys, but no locks to open. I have a space, but no room to enter. You can enter, but can't go outside. What am I?" Noor thought hard, racking her brain for an answer. She looked around the hut and noticed a small keyhole on the wall. She tried putting her finger in it, but it didn't fit. Then she tried putting a twig in it, but that didn't work either. Just then, she saw a bunch of keys hanging on a hook nearby. She took one of the keys and put it in the keyhole. It turned out that the answer to the riddle was a keyboard. And as soon as she figured that out, the hut disappeared, and Noor found herself in a dark room. Noor looked around the room and saw that it was filled with all sorts of strange objects. There were jars filled with stars, feathers, shells, and other mysterious items. Then she noticed a small glass jar on a table in the corner of the room. The jar was filled with a bright, shimmering liquid, and it looked like the stars were swirling inside of it. As Noor approached the jar, she heard her cat's voice whispering to her, The stars hold the secrets of the universe. If you can unlock their whispers, you will find the answer. Noor knew that the jar contained her cat's voice, but she didn't know how to get it back. She looked at the jar closely and saw that it was sealed with a cork. She tried pulling the cork out, but it was stuck. Just then, she remembered the moon's riddles. The moon had taught her that everything was connected and that nothing was impossible. So Noor closed her eyes, reached out her hand, and touched the jar. She felt a surge of energy flow through her body, and the cork suddenly came out of the jar. As the cork left the jar, the stars inside began to swirl and move around, forming shapes and patterns in the air. Noor watched in awe as the stars formed a constellation in the shape of a cat. She knew that the cat constellation was a sign that she had solved the puzzle and that her cat's voice was returning to her. With a flick of her tail, the cat constellation vanished and her cat's voice echoed through the room. "Thank you," her cat said. "You brought me back." Noor was overjoyed to have her cat's voice back. She hugged her tightly and thanked the moon for helping her. Then she took the jar and poured the shimmering liquid into her cat's food bowl. Her cat lapped up the liquid and purred contentedly. As the first rays of sunlight peeked through the cracks in the windows, Noor and her cat walked back to the garden together. The air was fresh, and the birds were singing, and the flowers were in full bloom, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of oranges and jasmine. The garden seemed to glow with a magical light, as if celebrating the return of her cat's voice. Noor and her cat spent the day playing in the garden. They chased butterflies, climbed trees, and played hide-and-seek among the flowers. Noor was so happy to have her cat back, and she knew that their bond was unbreakable. From that day forward, Noor and her cat continued to live in the desert oasis. They spent their days playing in the garden and listening to the birds sing and the wind rustle through the leaves. And at night, they would cuddle up together under the moonlight and listen to the moon's riddles. Noor knew that she was lucky to have her cat by her side, and she cherished every moment they spent together. Noor wore a beautiful cat print dress for the occasion, a reminder of her beloved pet. She even had moon-shaped earrings and fuzzy slippers to match. Her cat, happy to be back in her loving home, rubbed against Noor's legs, purring loudly. Finally, Noor's cat's voice returned to her, and the garden glowed with magic, all thanks to a brave girl and her clever thinking. Once upon a time was a beautiful story about a brave young girl named Noor, who lived in a Moroccan desert oasis with her family. This enchanting tale highlights the beauty of curiosity and interspecies communication. The story unfolds in a rich desert setting, adding cultural depth to the narrative. If you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more captivating stories.